Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim, and our guest today is Alex. So Alex, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
I'm Alex Todorovic. I'm in Canada, Calgary, Alberta. I co-founded a company called Arbor it's been 4 years now. What we do is basically provide like a SaaS platform that helps companies automate the way that they calculate the carbon emissions of their supply chain. So products level, asset level, really focusing on trying to get very, very granular and accurate information to these companies so they can report, reduce, all that good stuff.
So in terms of like this idea, were you like in the operation space and saw a need? Like how did this kind of come to fruition for you?
So I was actually like still doing my undergrad at the University of Calgary. I was doing computer science. And towards the end of my degree, I was working at the university at this like entrepreneurship center. I met a lot of founders, a lot of investors in the ecosystem here. I learned a lot about this. And that's when, at that point in time, was when COVID hit. And so myself and my other kind of friends that I made along my undergrad, the four of us like to kind of go to these like hackathons, do things on the side. And we just felt like it was a good opportunity to like start something. And during that time, I remember there was a lot of buzz and headlines around, how during quarantine, the whole like nature is healing thing because less human activity, less pollution, stuff like that. So environmental was very much in the headlines a lot during that time. And then it just happened to be that there was this like big Microsoft hackathon that was online. It was Canada-wide. We entered it, ended up winning with like a very MVP solution to compare to like what we have now. And then took that win, talked to some investors here, and was able to kind of raise a pre-seed round and ran with it.
Awesome. So I guess like in terms of right now, right, like who is like an ideal customer for you guys?
So like one of our biggest customers is Crocs, for example. Customers that, large retail customers that deal with a lot of products, even let's say that they themselves purchase products, have complex supply chains. That's kind of where we live. So we've got customers in retail, electronics, construction, agriculture, like you name it at this point.
Awesome. So in terms of like the pricing model, like how does it work? Is it based like on cost savings, like a monthly fee? Like how do you kind of go about billing your customers?
It's just like a SaaS fee, like a yearly fee. So we hook up somebody with like a plan that is the best fit for them, and then they can utilize the platform however. Yeah, and it's just kind of recurring.
Awesome. So, I mean, obviously that, you've been doing this for about 4 years now. So what's been the best way for you to kind of, go to market and acquire customers? Do you go to conferences, cold outbound ads? Like what is really just, work for you to grow this business?
I mean, it's kind of all over the place. Like, I would say we've had customers from events that we've been to, cold outreach, inbound, and then as well like the network effects. So really utilizing those like warm relationships, getting warm leads from investors, people that we met in the ecosystem and stuff like that. Yeah, it's been interesting because like in the early days, like you basically will do whatever it takes to get your initial customers. And so sometimes it's not easy to explain like what the best way is. Sometimes you just got to do everything and see what sticks, basically.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so I guess like you mentioned, right, being in different verticals. So I guess if you can just kind of like, dive deeper into like the use case based on different verticals. I mean, obviously I come from more of like an e-commerce operations background. That to me is pretty clear, but in terms of, construction, things like that, how does that actually work? Is it more like on the logistics side, or where does it kind of bring in value for those kinds of customers?
Yeah, I mean, across the world now, like for let's take construction, like companies that are land developers for warehouses and things like that, their buyers are asking for environmental data from them. And so they're making choices based on, who is using less materials, who is generating less CO2, who's generating more waste, whatever it is. And so for us, really, we look at kind of that builder's supply chain. Sometimes we even help them, like there's been an example before where we've helped them choose, between different concrete suppliers, which one is using less material, which one is generating less CO2, generating less waste. So we can be kind of utilized as like a procurement addition, I guess, in terms of if you have these environmental restrictions. And then as well, when it comes on the selling side, we are able to help companies that are making any claims environmentally to back that up with data and traceability. That's really the goal.
Yeah, that makes sense. So obviously that you're based in Canada. So are most of your customers today also Canadian or mostly in the US? Like where do you kind of find most of your customers in 2025?
We have customers all over the place. Like we've got customers in Canada, US, across Europe. We've got even customers in Japan. It is becoming like a pretty global thing. The first couple of years we were doing this, it was quite the slog because people didn't really know yet or understand kind of this space. And so there's a lot of like education that we had to do. But now it seems like there's quite a big need and we're even still just scratching the surface. So it is a global thing for sure.
Awesome. So in terms of scratching the surface, like, obviously now that we're still in Q1 of 2025, so what are some of your biggest goals and objectives for the rest of this year?
Rest of this year is definitely just sell as much as possible. We've been doing sales the last 2 years and we've been able to just kind of learn a lot, be able to get some wins in and be able to get enough historical data to now really like put together a solid plan. We're getting to a point where we have repeatable sales, things make a lot more sense. And so this year feels like, a lot of the momentum of like from us in terms of getting our shit together and then the momentum for the market meeting kind of market need meeting what we built. It feels like it's kind of hitting that apex point. And so this year feels like it's just going to be just purely execution, try and get this to as many customers as possible.
But do you have customers, for example, obviously early on, I'm sure that you did, but even now they may ask for additional features, things like that. Like, how do you kind of go about that process? Because it's obviously can be challenging when you're trying to sell, but I need this feature, that feature, this kind of customization.
Yeah, we try to keep the customization pieces to a minimum when it comes to like actually building something within the software. But then people always ask for like add-ons and stuff. So we offer add-ons, which is like different reports that can be generated. And so we have those templated reports. It takes like a little bit of that white glove service from our team to be able to put that stuff together. But generally, we've got to a point where it's like not a whole lot of customization required unless we have seen something that like consistently customers are asking for, then we look at figuring out kind of, okay, we should maybe add this feature and things like that. And there's so many things we could add. It's just that it's like all based on time and resources basically.
For sure. And how big is your team today?
So there's 12 of us.
Okay.
So not that large, but yeah, we do a lot with a little, I would say.
For sure. Yeah. I think especially now with technology and AI, it definitely makes it a bit more intuitive when it comes to scaling and building. So I guess like on that note, right, you've been doing this for about 4 years now. So if you could go back in time to before you got started, what is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
Yeah, being a first-time founder, you wish you knew a lot of things. Like I didn't really know much of anything. What my strategy was find people that were way better at this than I was and just like sponge off them as much as possible. Like learn everything I could, ask some questions, get that mentorship. I think the number one thing would be that because like we come from myself and the rest of the founders come from more like a technical side. I would have honestly just not built anything and I would have shopped around like a very base MVP, gotten some contracts and then built. But I think we spent too much time in the beginning kind of building out a solution that we thought was going to fit the market need. But at that point in time, like we didn't do enough to kind of validate that solution. And so there's definitely some pains of like having to pivot a couple times, nothing drastic, but just kind of how you are providing this solution to what the actual pain is. So I would have definitely not done that, and I would have just kind of gone to sales much faster instead.
Awesome. Well, that's some really good advice. So if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you, do you mind sharing your social media and your website? Just, I guess, best ways to get in contact.
Yeah, so our website is Arbor, so ARBOR .eco, ECO. And then, best way to reach out to me is on LinkedIn. just look up Alex Todorovic, Arbor. Pretty active on there. Yeah, I'd say that's probably the best way.
Awesome. Well, Alex, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.